Melody is all that I know. She's over me. She's over me. She comes with her hypnotic dance. She holds me here with only a glance. She's over me. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the Paranormal Portal. I'll be your host for this journey. My name is Brent Thomas. Welcome. Make yourselves at home. Welcome, guys. It's Saturday night. Welcome to the show. Special thank you to Frank and Paula. I always love listening to you guys. Always a great pleasure to be following you. I'll try to fill those shoes for the length of our journey here, but... and Robbie for that. Great shows, all of them. It is the face of TFR, though. All kinds of amazing people filling the airways with knowledge and gnosis, as Chris says. So hope you guys are having a great weekend, and thank you to those of you who were on the show last night. We were joined last night by Deborah Varner, our Paranormal Portal psychic, doing free readings to callers of the show. Had a great time, great amount of participation. You guys were wonderful, and thank you for that. And I forgot to turn on the moon, which to those of you on TFR, iHeart, or TuneIn and TalkStream Live, that means nothing. But to those of you on YouTube, you're like, hey, turn on the moon. Well, I did. So the moon is on. It's one of the props hanging up behind me on the wall. So anyway, I'm not alone here tonight. As per usual, par for the course, I am joined by my wonderful friend and co-host, Mr. Don Longbeard. Welcome to the show, brother. Let me unmute you. And what the hell am I doing? I'm hitting all kinds of buttons. I don't know if your mic's working. It was
check.
Yeah,
Go figure.
Go figure.
You know, I should just do this before every show.
We should probably start doing that. You'd think.
Hey.
You'd think we were
amateurs.
Well, you'd think we were pros. We know we're amateurs. Welcome to the show, everybody. Hope you guys are having a wonderful weekend, and thank you for spending your Saturday evening here with us on the portal. Don, talk to the people for a second.
Talk to the people. Well, people, guess what? Today is, what is it, Saturday? It's Saturday. And here we come at you again. Now, it sounded like we had a great show last night with Deb. Unfortunately, as I said, I have to work. I have to do the grind thing. It sucks. But,
work, schmirk.
Who needs it? Nobody needs that stuff.
Well, I wish that were the case.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Yeah, that'd be nice. But here we are again, and we're eager to get to it. And who knows what's going to happen tonight?
It is a Heapin Helpin of Paranormal Mayhem, which is basically means that Don and I are just going to fill the mics with noise and see what happens. But those are sometimes the greatest shows. You know, we have a lot of fun doing it, and it's real dialogue. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, the phones are open, so you can call and be a part of this journey, be a part of this adventure.
And this craziness that is the portal.
You can be a part of this madness.
Would you like to come join us? We'd really like to see you.
You're always welcome. Yeah, we always keep the doors open because that's the best way to attract people, I think.
And sometimes we get
we got a trail of candy leading to our YouTube page. That's not diabolical at all, is it?
No, not at all.
Well,
Oh, gracious.
Oh, gracious what?
Just gracious.
Well, I am gracious. Tonight we're gonna cover a bunch of different subjects, a lot of things that I'm curious about, and I'm of course curious to hear if anything you guys have to say about some of these things too. I find them very interesting. One thing I want to cover right off the bat here is some weirdness that I stumbled on. And
Go figure.
so this one I don't think is necessarily paranormal, but it's really, really creepy.
Oh yeah.
So this is coming off of Disclosed TV's website. And the headline is, "A woman is suing Long Island Cemetery after she was sucked into her parents' grave." Oh my God! Could you imagine, Don? Could you imagine going to lay some roses and flowers on your parents' graves and the
slide right in?
just spoon me? I mean, my God!
Oh goodness!
What a horrible, horrible experience that would be. Now, I don't know. You know, I'm kind of torn about this one, Don.
Oh?
Here's the thing. Now, I think that there are circumstances where, there is negligence and there is things going on that people should be responsible for. And sometimes there's just weird freak accidents.
Right.
So, yeah, I believe that there are times when, people have these legal rights for a reason. The other part of it is that we live in a society of people that, will sue for anything they can because hey, they got insurance, and everybody
covered.
Everybody thinks it's like a bonus program, Right. Let's sue the neighbors because their lawnmower threw rocks into my lawn and and hit my my shin or something stupid
Right.
like that. I mean, we're in a sue happy kind of society,
Right.
And that disturbs me.
Very
So
litigious.
So what would you do in this kind of situation? Would you seek legal recompense?
You know what I would do? Here's what I would do.
Maybe I should read it first, though.
Sure, go ahead.
So we understand the meat of the story here. Because so far I'm just going off of a headline, but I'm like,
And
it
I got
sucks.
something to say about this too.
It would certainly suck to be like all of a sudden face to face with your parents' corpse. That to me would just be horrendously shocking and terrible.
Oh.
And I don't know. Would you end up with both of them, or what? Were they?
How many
I
were
don't
buried
know.
there? Because you can actually buy one plot, but they dig it like 18 feet down. So the first person to go goes to the bottom,
Oh, you serious?
and then they can
you can
stack
stack them.
up. Yeah,
Oh, that's
some you can, depending on your water table,
okay. Well,
which is something else I want to talk about.
here's the story. On December 19th, 2016, a woman went to visit her parents' Long Island burial plot. However, she was in for quite a surprise. According to the lawsuit, when it says when was visiting her parents, when she was visiting her parents, I think I forgot a word, she got more than she bargained for as she sank hip deep into their grave. Now, she has decided to sue the Long Island Cemetery. Her name is Joanne Cullen. I wonder if she's a vampire.
God, I'm just gonna go.
From North Belmore, Long Island, was visiting her parents' grave, as many will often do. However, this time was a bit different. According to the court papers, as she bent down to fix a bow on a wreath by the headstone, a sinkhole spontaneously formed and suddenly began to swallow her up into the burial site. That's weird, but her lawyer stated that the sinkhole caused her to fall forward and smash her head on the tombstone,
Oh, ow.
cracking a tooth.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. There's a lawsuit there. Yep.
Well, I mean, yeah, but sinkholes, really?
Well, yeah.
Those are kind of acts of God, aren't they?
Not necessarily.
Well, I mean, not that God's up there going sinkhole,
It
sinkhole,
is-
sinkhole.
Sinkholes are definitely Mother Nature.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, they're a natural act. And then after trying to bounce back, she started sinking into the ground even further. But fortunately, she managed to grab the sides of the headstone. And the stunned woman attempted to cry out for help, but no one in the graveyard could hear her screams, so her cries went unheard.
Because it was deathly quiet.
Her lawyer was described the event by saying that for anyone getting sucked into your parents' grave when you go to visit them on a cool December afternoon with the sun going down is terrifying and traumatizing. Oh yeah, that would be creepy. So it's getting dark. Oh man. It's for that reason the woman and her lawyer have decided to sue the cemetery. So that's their story. What do you think, Don?
Well, I think first of all, wasn't her name was Joanne Cullen?
Cullen.
Cullen, yeah. Wasn't that Edward's name in
Edward
the
Cullen,
Twilight
the
movies?
sparkly vampire.
So why is
the
that
stalker,
surprising?
the stalker that watches people sleep.
I know. That's
Anyway,
also, well, here's the thing. Okay, now couple things. One, water table. If if it was indeed a sinkhole, then it's a Mother Nature kind of thing. However, Long Island probably has a pretty high water table. So you kind of gotta consider that when when you're deciding where your graveyard or your cemetery is going to be. It's about water. Because water will actually, what will happen is if it comes from the top of the coffin, it can run around the coffin and underneath it and push the coffin up.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah. Apparently that's happened in floods. That suddenly coffins will pop up, and
Yep. That's what happens. The water goes down. It creates a gap, and that the dirt on top runs to the bottom and pushes that casket up.
Sure, and then there's air, of course, an air pocket inside the casket. I assume. I don't know if they're airtight or not.
They would have to be.
The caskets are, you think?
I think they would have to be. Now, here's my other thing. So here's the only way, if they've done that correctly, is if what happens is you put all that 6 feet of dirt. Well, it's actually more like 4.5 feet of dirt on top of it, and then the other thing that I could think of that could have happened is the casket. When she stepped on it, the casket actually broke open and it sucked that sand down or the dirt down into the coffin itself.
Oh, okay. Well, that's creepy. So would you sue?
If it was the coffin's fault, I would sue the coffin maker. If it was water table, I would certainly sue because the cemetery, because they should have some way to prevent that. Now, somebody said, Pam in the chat says the casket should be in a cement vault. Well, that's all well and fine. Yeah. However, the problem there is now you're spending another $5,000 on the burial plot.
Well, yeah, but I think it's like burial code, isn't it? I don't think you get to choose that.
Oh, it depends on where you are.
Well, I mean, if you're buried on your own property, you can probably just plop a corpse in the ground and call it a day. But I think when you're in a burial,
plant me in the back, where the red fern grows,
where the long beards grow. There's like a bearded bush all of a sudden.
It's all like this.
No, I don't know. That's what I think. But I thought that was pretty wild. I think it's one of those things. Yeah, I mean, things just happen sometimes, and does somebody have to be responsible for that? Why is that?
Well,
that's the part I don't understand.
I don't know, but then again, I could use a couple $5,000 extra bucks.
Oh yeah. No, don't get me wrong. I wouldn't mind a whole nother paycheck, but I wouldn't. I don't know. There's like an integrity to it to me. But then again, it wasn't me that went through it. So maybe I would change my mind if I was buried hip deep in my parents' grave as the sun was going down. that might change my view. I don't know.
Lady Death says a green burial would definitely cause a sinkhole.
Okay, and is that just put it in a pine box?
They wrap you up in a bloody sheet, then drop you down 6 feet deep.
Is that what?
The worms crawl in, the worms crawl out.
No, I mean, what is a green burial? Is that like a no formaldehyde kind of thing?
I would imagine so,
okay.
Yeah.
Then maybe no vault then?
But you would have to have proper ventilation in the wall burial things or they would sink. Okay, well.
Okay. I mean, that's a new term to me. So that's really interesting, and that's what I love about this show. And hello to everybody here. Who is here, by the way?
Oh, apparently there's no requirements on that.
Oh, okay. So you can just just pile up some rocks and call it a day.
Oh, participants.
Yes, sir.
We've got lots of participants today. So shout outs to the chatters in YouTube right now. We've got Becky Taylor, D. Hey, D. Danielle's here. Gemini, Hacker. Jim Mount is here.
Awesome. Great to see you.
Christy, Monster Truck Gal. We got Lady Death, MCAT, Pam Edgerton. That's
me.
Oh, it's Brent. Okay. Sarah's here. Sasquatch Chronicles is here. Thank you, Sarah. Nice to hear from you. Or nice to see you here. And then we got Rotman. But then we also got a few others that were chatting that they must have fallen off that list. But
okay.
We'll get around to those later.
We'll get around to you. Well, thank you all for being here. Who's in
TFR? Yeah, we've got Sophia the Love Bot.
Sophia the Love Bot.
Whatever. TFR Wiki, Heart of the Rebel 666. Nancy, hi, how are you, Nancy?
Good to see you guys.
Brent Thomas is there. Don's to you too.
Yep.
Bam, Chris Steiner, Kevin J. Brady, Divine Creature, and Mysterious Specimen.
Oh, thanks you all for being here.
There you go.
Hi.
So there you go. Is there anybody?
Don thought it was Chris Everhart at the beginning of the show. Why, thank you.
I know. I was like, what is he trying to do?
Well,
A little bit of Peach Paranormal.
I was just going into character. I don't know.
Which character? Oh,
I don't know.
Did I miss MCAT?
There's a lot of them
I
going
think I
on in
missed
here.
MCAT.
Oh, MCAT. How you doing, brother?
Got a shout out to him. So
Absolutely. So thank you guys for being here. But that's my top story. That was the weird one. But let's see.
Sky burials are not interesting, Danielle. Those are disgusting.
Is that where they just drop you out of a plane?
No, sky burials are like in Eastern Middle Eastern kind of countries, and then Asian countries like India, places like that. What they actually do is they take you up to their sacred mountain.
Oh.
They dump your body and let the vultures eat you.
Well, now in India though, I mean, I think a natural form of cremation is practiced though, near waterways. As a matter of fact, yeah. In fact,
Actually,
I saw this on what's that show where Jeremy Wade, that guy that catches all those giant fish.
Oh, river monsters.
River monsters,
Yeah.
that's the one. And he was fishing in India, and he went over that fact that they have cremations by the river, and then whatever's left they just dump in the river. And he was
Right.
thinking that some of these river monsters were eating what was left. You know?
Goodness.
Yeah, right.
Well, actually, in India, on the Ganges, on the shores of the Ganges, they actually take you down there, burn your body there,
That's
and then
what I
just
mean,
throw
yeah.
you in.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. But man, that guy pulls some monsters out.
Apparently, it depends on how far out into the Ganges they get you.
Oh.
If you make it up the stream to not be reincarnated.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's part of it. There's much more to it than
Oh,
that. But
I'm sure.
I thought that was kind of interesting when I saw that. As a matter of fact, what was I watching? It was the Morgan Freeman thing. Search for God, or Who is God, or what? I forget what that series was.
Oh, you know what? Somebody mentioned that to me that they watched
I think it was Lady Death.
Yeah, I think so.
The other
Yeah,
day.
I always meant to check it out, and I still haven't. But I got to do that, lady. Thank you for that suggestion. I appreciate
Wes
it.
says, "Fish on, fish on."
Comes out with like limbs, appendages coming out of its mouth.
Hey, you choked on that one, didn't you?
Yeah, no kidding. Fish on. That guy's huge. I mean, those fish are enormous. Anyway, you were saying something else, or
was I?
were you done?
I think I was done ranting on that one.
Sorry, I'm just going through more things because I did mean to watch that. Of course, Morgan Freeman narrates the hell out of things. I mean, he could make shampoo commercials sound cool. I mean, the way that he talks is just amazing. He's one of those people. Yeah. So anyway, there's another one now, again from Disclosed TV, and I haven't read this ahead of time, so I don't know what I'm going to read here. But it had a good title. It's Close to Death, and Then This Happens. But it's a video.
Oh, it's a video.
Yeah, I can't play with those. I don't want to get copyright
I tell you,
strikes.
set up a scene with a filter on it. We should be fine.
Yeah, I'm sure, but still, I don't want to rip off people's stuff for this show. That's not what this is about. Stories are cool because we can discuss those all day long. But here's one. It's a prophetic dream. Now, we've been talking a lot on the show about dreams, ladies and gentlemen, and I really think I think we all have those goofy, stupid ones where you're like, you're filling up your gas tank with Gandhi or something dumb. I mean, there's no reason for it to happen. But it does.
Having a philosophical discussion with Gandhi.
Yeah. As you're scrubbing your underwear or something dumb, it's like you know what I mean? How absolutely stupid and random some dreams are. Like you'll be in this house and in the dream it's your house, and then you wake up and go, that's not my house. I don't even know anything about that place. That doesn't even look even a little familiar. Or you recognize people in your dream that you're great friends with, and then you wake up and go, who the hell was that? Right?
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's had these kind of dreams, but then there's another kind of dream. And that's the kind of dream where people get visions and they get sights and like where I've, met deceased relatives in dreams, and they're so lucid and they're so vibrant and they I mean, for all intents and purposes, I'm sure at the time that they're real. Like the last one where I met my dad, I was sitting there with my mom at her dining table, and my next oldest brother was across the table from me. And we were talking, and my dad, who has passed away, was standing between my mom and I talking and talking about stories and things. And it was just so incredibly real and vibrant that I knew that it was happening. And like I said before, I fully expected to wake up and to call my mom, and I did call my mom and go, Mom, can you believe that dream? You know, and that was just, it was that real. But we do have a phone call.
Yeah.
Let's get to the call.
Hello, caller.
Hello, caller. How are you tonight? This is
It's Lady Death.
it is. Welcome to the show. I can't
Where'd she
hear
go?
her.
Do you got your thing turned on? You got her muted?
No, I mean everything's up.
Oh.
Everything's good. Can
Are
you hear
there?
us?
Lady Death. Lady Death.
Okay. I don't know what's going on.
Maybe she has a freaking phone now.
She got a pranking phone. Poor girl.
Oh, I know. Well, okay.
Okay, well we'll come back to that if I'm not sure why there's no sound though. It's as though it were muted, but not on our end.
Hey man.
Let me check the Skype here and see if we're connected, aren't we? What the hell?
We better be.
Let me just expand this. I want to be sure. I don't. Yeah, it says it's there.
Yeah, well, we're on TFR.
No, I mean
Well,
we
yeah,
are
the-
connected. I
the
just
phone
didn't.
lines, yeah.
Right. I just didn't know what was going on with the phone lines here.
Huh?
It's supposed to. I could try unmuting her again.
Yeah, because she says I can hear you guys now, but you muted me.
Okay, go ahead.
Are you there?
Are you there now?
I can hear you now.
Oh,
Can you
there
hear me?
are.
We can hear you.
Hi, my
Welcome-
name's Paul. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Well, welcome to the
Good.
show.
Yeah, I was just calling about the first story we were talking about
Oh, the
with the
burial.
lady sneaking into the coffin
Yeah.
or
Oh,
the
yeah.
burial plot.
Yeah.
And there's some other pretty cool coffin-y things that go on out there. One is known as coffin birth,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when the deceased woman has her baby in the coffin, which is pretty awesome, or not so awesome, but
What?
a fun fact.
Wait. What? What?
Yes.
No. Start that
Yeah.
over. What do you mean? Okay.
If a lady passes away while she's pregnant and they bury her with the fetus intact, eventually they do give birth and the fetus comes out in the coffin.
What?
And the term for it is coffin birth. Yes.
Oh,
no.
Oh, no.
But obviously it's a stillbirth, right? I mean, because clearly the baby's not going to be.
Well, yeah. I mean, they wouldn't have, buried the mother if the fetus
Oh,
was
that's
still alive.
disgusting.
Is this like an old thing? This isn't a modern thing, is it?
Oh, it is. I
No.
bet you it is. Yeah.
No, this is a modern thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then if you don't have like proper ventilation and are they mausoleums,
Right.
it'll smell really bad in there. So not all coffins can be sealed airtight because bodies release all kinds of gases
Oh, sure.
when they're in the coffin, and that'll cause coffin explosions or leaky coffins, which I don't know if y'all have heard about that either.
No, I'm learning a lot about coffins, though. Okay.
And then on the same subject, there is a such thing as natural burials, but like the funeral home has to, or the cemetery has to agree to allow that kind of burial there. But usually you're just buried in a shroud with a biodegradable coffin. And it can happen on private land, but it's subject to regulations. And in any cemetery that's willing to do the vault-free technique, which is another fun fact. And also, you don't have to be embalmed. So that is a lie that a lot of funeral directors tell people, and it's not something that has to be done. If you don't want your body pumped full of all these carcinogenic chemicals, you don't have to. If you'd rather just, be biodegradable and go away, that's up to you.
Biodegradable go away. I love that.
I'm gonna be like an old piece of lunch meat in the ground. Oh no! Wow.
We're just sideways already tonight.
It doesn't usually take real long,
No,
but
not really.
I think we might have set a record.
Yeah.
That's pretty
Wow.
wild, though. I had no idea. I guess I assumed that you had to have a burial vault, you had to be embalmed, and all of that stuff. But that's not the case.
And I think most states probably have strict regulations on it. Of course, California's so green and they're,
Yeah.
always ahead of everybody else and that type of thing. I know for sure you can do it in a lot of places in California.
Okay. Well, I bet you they got to really expedite the whole funeral and stuff, though. They probably really have to like,
Oh, yeah.
push that right up. Let's get to it right now because
You pay a premium on that.
things are going to get ripe in a hurry.
Just like when, right, just like when you're not embalmed, you can't, wait 2 weeks to do the funeral.
Right. Yeah.
And then,
Eesh.
lastly, I wanted to mention the world's tallest vertical cemetery in Brazil, and I don't know if y'all have ever seen that or heard of it.
No, go ahead.
But they feature tombs with a view, so like you pay extra money and you can look out over the land. It's kind of on a mountainside, but it's 108 meters tall, and it has 25,000 storing units or tombs, several wake rooms, crypts, mausoleums, and other basic amenities.
Basic amenities.
So,
does it have a shower?
Yeah. So it's very true. They're
Wow.
like high dollar.
It has Wi-Fi.
God, can you hear me now?
Yeah, exactly. Wow. I had no idea.
And they're so desperate.
Go ahead.
They're so desperate to find like burial places for their family members in Brazil because it's just, overrun with dead people.
Really?
That they rent out these places. Oh, really?
Oh,
and
wow.
you don't get to keep, like, you make this crazy purchase, and then you don't get to stay in there. So,
Yeah.
like, a 3-year rental ranges between, if you want the view or not, $5,900 and $21,000, and that's for 3 years.
Oh my God.
So what do they do? When they evict you, what do they do?
They roll you down the hill.
And I used to know the answer to that. I need to watch a video on it again.
Hold on,
I
Lady
don't
Death.
remember what they did.
We're going to break.
Hold
Hold on.
they do. Sometimes they'll.
We're going to go to break, so we'll be right back.
Sometimes they'll move you
Hold the
into
line.
a-
Hold the line. We'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen, for more of the Paranormal Portal.
Okay.
Stay on the line. We'll be right back.
to the Truth Frequency Radio Network.
No hate, no hype, no fear.
Well, welcome back to the show. First breaks down. We're on the second half hour, the second half of the first hour, and we're doing great. For some reason, sometimes we just don't know what we're going to talk about, so we, throw out this, laughy title, Mouthful Mayhem, and that kind of thing.
Title.
And what'll happen? Don and Brent with Mike's What Can Happen. That's the way it goes. But it's interesting because here we are on a subject that I don't think we've ever covered a subject like this. This is kind of macabre. Yeah, it's kind of a macabre one.
But it's kind of interesting because, honest to God, this is the one journey we're all going to take. There's no getting out of this alive.
We're done. Yeah. That's it. We're talking.
Yep. So,
so we have. Now I know why they call her Lady Death. She is on the phone with us, and she's been presenting us with a plethora of information. Sorry about that, Lady Death. You still with us? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
No
yes.
worries.
Oh, yes. Where were you?
Well, we were talking about what they did with the bodies when their rent ran out.
Right, that's right.
And
Yep.
so I just looked it up, and I guess they said you can be moved to a different part of the necropolis. Is basically what it is. And but I don't know what happens when you put paint on that. I don't know if you. I know they sell out little squares where you can put ashes in and that sort of thing. So maybe they just cremate them. I don't know.
Wow.
And it is the tallest necropolis in the Guinness Book of World Records.
You think? I would imagine there's too many.
But it's also not one of a kind. Like they said, they have them in I want to say Taiwan or something. Or yeah.
Oh.
It's in a high-rise pagoda like necropolis in Taiwan, which is pretty crazy. And
Wow.
I think that's really all I have to say about it.
Wow.
But it reminds me, have you guys ever seen the movie Phantasm?
I don't think I have.
I probably did an age ago, but I do not remember it.
He remembers.
Well, they
it
had
now.
do you remember the Tall Man? You guys have to have seen Phantasm. I guess y'all aren't horror movie buffs.
No.
But,
We are. It's just
that's what this
it's a
reminds
one.
not we. I'm not. Don likes his
okay.
horror movies
Yeah,
and stuff. I'm not much of a horror movie guy. I don't know. When I go to movies, I want to escape, not be terrified.
He wants to go to a rom-com,
I don't even know what that means.
romantic comedy.
Oh God, you're gonna get muted. Oh my God. Oh well, I really appreciate you sharing what you did
Wait
have.
a minute. I didn't hear what she had to say about the Phantasm, the movie Phantasm.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, it was just a scene where there was this kid running from the bad guy, which was the Tall Man, and he's running through a monastery mausoleum. I forget what you call it, but it's indoors. And that's what this kind of reminds me of. It would be spooky as hell walking through those.
Yeah, no doubt. Wow.
Is that your computer that keeps chirping?
Don't jinx it.
Yeah, that's my Wi-Fi going in and out. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine.
The
I'm looking
not too well right now.
I'm looking around at all my equipment going, what's beeping? Oh my God, what's going on? So I just want to make sure.
Wow, that's just interesting though. That's just
It is.
Yeah, that's.
Oh wow.
Did we lose
all
her?
I can say.
Are you still there, lady?
Yeah.
All right. Well, Well, thank you so much for sharing what you shared. I love it when you call in, and thank you so much for enlightening me on several different burial styles that I had no idea existed until tonight. I'm a little disturbed. Exploding coffins is a little disturbing to me. No, it's a lot disturbing. And leaking coffins is really disturbing as well. But I guess it makes sense. I don't know.
Wow.
But thank you so much.
My pleasure. Y'all have a great night.
Wait a minute. I wanted to ask you one more thing. Now, are you from the New Orleans area?
No, I lived there for about a year. When I
Okay.
was younger.
All right, because I saw the elevated graveyards when I was there years ago, and I thought that was absolutely fascinating. But I was just curious.
Well,
okay.
Don't you have a video? Don't you have a video on your YouTube that about you were doing an ITC in a graveyard or a raised burial plots?
Yeah, that's all over Louisiana because everywhere floods a lot, and if the flooding occurs, the coffins pop up out of the ground. So
That's awesome.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
What the hell's wrong with you?
Because I love it. I mean, like, oh yeah, we had to go rebury Don because he just won't stay down. He was buried with a still, and he keeps creating.
Absolutely. Well, only on the portal, ladies and gentlemen.
definitely look up that monastery or necropolis in Brazil. It's super interesting, and
Well, I'm gonna
I
look
think
it
you
up.
guys would enjoy a little. I
I'm
don't know, documentary on it or something.
I'm gonna put it on screen.
Oh yeah, a
Necropolis,
picture of it.
in Brazil. I'm gonna look it up right now and put it up on screen. I need images. No way.
Oh, that thing's huge.
Yeah.
That's it. Is that it?
You've got to be kidding me.
No, that's not it.
That is it. That's huge.
It's really tall and on a hillside. My Wi-Fi is not working, so I can't
it's
see
the
the
other
show
one.
right now.
It's not that
Wait,
one.
there goes my Wi-Fi. Maybe it'll work.
Well,
Let
this
me
is-
refresh.
That's St. John's. St. John's.
Yeah, but where's
Nope,
that?
Wi-Fi went out. Okay.
Uh-oh.
But
So,
yeah, it's
the
huge.
top
It's
left
on a
corner.
hillside. It's got like an arched roof.
This?
Yeah.
This high rise?
Yes, that's it.
The sky's the limit even for the dead. You've got to be kidding me. All right, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to let you see what I'm seeing now. This is...
Do you see what we see?
Oh, my God. There it is. There's the big tomb with the view.
Memorial necropoli.
That is just disturbing as hell.
In Brazil.
That's crazy. That's a high rise.
And I just wonder how long it'll be before we have to do that in the U.S. because everybody's so into burying the dead around here.
That won't ever actually
Yep, that's
happen.
it right there.
Yeah, that's the one. Oh, my God.
Isn't that crazy?
I wonder what a penthouse goes for.
Well, she said 5 to
They can
21,000.
run up to $56,000.
Oh,
I want to say for like a family room.
A family room.
Bring the kids.
Yes,
Donner party of 8.
Oh, my
Oh,
God.
54,000. My bad.
Oh,
Separate family burial place with memorial room.
Now, is that Brazilian dollars? What do they use down there, or is it American dollars?
I think it's just dollars, because this is an American article on it.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
So maybe they did the conversion for us. But I could be wrong.
Wow. That is really wild. Okay, so, yeah, I mean, but there's all these municipal necropolis, St. John. I don't know where this is.
It says.
What? Sao Jiao?
I'm not even gonna try it.
I don't know either.
I'm
But
going to jail
that's
for murder.
that's yeah. If it was a crime to murder language, we would be long in prison.
We'd be gone. Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, that's a lot
Wow.
of dead there. What the hell's going on in Brazil that they're having such trouble finding spots for them?
I guess it's a really old country. I don't know.
Okay, well that makes sense. Don't these people ever turn to dirt though? I mean, eventually. I mean, that sounds really rude and stuff, but you know what I mean.
Just open the casket and sweep it out.
No. Yeah, I understand.
So, I don't
I
know.
guess
I'm confused, but I mean,
people are really proud of their ancestors. I don't know.
I understand.
Well, I suppose they celebrate Day of the Dead down there.
Dia de los Muertos or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Something like that.
Something like that. That's me butchering another language too. I can butcher any kind of language. I'm not only good at my mother tongue. I can butcher all kinds of languages, ladies and gentlemen. It's a gift. But yeah, that's wild. Whoa. Well, thank you so much for your call. It's been a pleasure as always.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you, guys. Y'all have a good night.
Okay, good night. See ya.
Oh, man. Crazy information, huh?
Now, you see, don't ever say that you can't learn something on the portal, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, wow.
We've got leaky coffin syndrome. We've got exploding coffin syndrome. We've got high rises for corpses and so much more here on the Paranormal Portal.
Wow.
I should make a promo reel about this.
No doubt.
Wow. I didn't.
Also known as post-mortem fetal extrusion.
That's really disturbing, though.
Coffin birth. Yeah,
I suppose I mean, if the mom dies and the baby has passed before they can get it out, then what are you going to do?
Right.
It does. To me, I mean, yeah, well, I guess you'd bury them together. I suppose. I don't know. I don't know.
It's just.
Do you know what I mean?
It's horrible to think about, though. I mean,
would you not think that they would do like a cesarean, remove the child, and have a little casket, or at least put it in the mother's arms or something? Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I guess it doesn't matter. No, it's just it's for us. All this stuff is for us. I think because I don't think the dead probably care an awful lot about it.
Well, that's like Dana in the chat said. Just it doesn't matter what you do with my body. I'm gone. Whatever.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Oh, wow.
Just don't make lampshades out of me. That's all I'm saying.
or necro pants.
Yeah. It's better than the spandex. That's all I'm saying.
It puts the lotion on its skin. No, did you ever see that, the necro pants?
No, I didn't.
Apparently, in some cultures, way back when, it was an honor to be asked by a shaman or a high priest or something like that if you would donate your necro pants. And basically, what they do is they skin you from the waist down, tan it, and wear you like a pair of pants.
No,
swear
really?
to God,
I
yes.
believe you, but
Necro
it's just
pants.
no
Necro pants. Yes, it's true. It's true.
Exactly, Dana.
Why does Don know this stuff?
I don't know why you know some
again,
things.
we could just throw it out to why does Lady Death know this stuff?
Well, at least she's got the name that fits it though. She's like Lady Death. Of course she knows death. The girl knows death.
Jim says Don's okay with the dumpster funeral. Pretty much, I'm cool with that. Because see, if I'm not quite dead yet, I can still get out of the dumpster hopefully before.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Beep beep beep. Back that truck up.
Hey, Adventisa, I appreciate your faith and all, but yeah, don't post that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with Christianity. There's nothing wrong with any religion, but I just don't want to start things on the show if there's anybody that would be offended by that.
So I have a tale of being buried alive. It says, a recent incident that gained significant media traction due to its horrifying nature. The 37-year-old was thought to have died of septic shock on January 28th of 2018. As a result, funeral arrangements were prepared, and the ceremony took place in somewhere in Brazil. However, residents who were near the burial site reportedly began hearing screams coming from the tomb. Video footage shows her coffin being retrieved, and upon opening it, her dead body was found with bloody injuries on her hands and forehead, evidence of the fact that the woman had tried to force her way out of her grave.
Oh.
She was estimated to have been trapped for 11 days.
Oh, no. Really?
Those involved have since been accused of needlessly violating the resting place after the doctors claims it was impossible for them not to notice the woman was alive before she was buried. And somebody told me the other day, oh, no, you don't got to worry about it because, if they embalm you, you're dead anyhow. Well, yeah, if you embalm you, they take all your blood out of your body and do all that kind of stuff, stick cotton up your nose. And, I don't know if they still pull your brains out with a hook or not, but, whatever. Yeah, I think I'm pretty much dead there. But,
yeah.
apparently this is just from a year ago. This story I just read.
Wow.
So yeah, crazy.
So somebody was just buried dead.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
what a horrible, horrible thing. I mean, there isn't much more that would be more terrifying than that.
How
Because
about waking up in a crematorium?
well, it depends on when you wake up, I guess.
If
it's before
I hope it's
before they shove you in, then that's okay. Yeah, it sucks, but yeah, if you wake up after you're in the oven, oh man, geez, I don't know. I don't want to think of such things.
I know. So what would be the alternatives to that? I mean,
What do you mean?
You like decapitation? I mean, what?
I
What
don't
can it?
know.
I mean, stop your heart. Even lethal injections have been known not to kill people.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, it
Wow.
happens.
Do they get pardoned then? Because obviously it's
Well-
you're not supposed to die.
Well,
Sorry.
actually, technically, they are if they can survive through it.
Well, that's what I thought.
Just
I
because
thought-
you didn't die doesn't mean you won't do it. In the hospital.
Right.
They
Wow.
they probably just just suck all the blood out of him. You'll be okay.
well, I'm sure they probably like to make
He
sure
had
that
massive
job is
hemorrhage and we
done.
just could not save him.
Oh, horrid.
Oh man, yeah. So
So getting back to the prophetic dream then.
prophetic dreams, right?
Yeah, I was kind of on that
You
before.
were.
I mean, not that
please, go ahead.
not that I'm hung up on protocol or anything, but it says this person says I had recently asked God, my concept of God anyway, to show me pertinent things in my dreams that I could affect positive changes to. This is about a week ago, and I started this, and I started journaling my dreams each morning before they fogged up and ended up lost. Initially, my dreams were vague and confusing. However, last night I had one that was stuck with me so clearly as if it really occurred. Here goes. I was standing in a very large crowd of people, and we were all looking up to a platform, and there were two men, Vice President Mike Pence and Robert Mueller. Wow.
Okay.
Robert Mueller and Mike Pence go into a bar. I'm sorry. Just sounds like a joke setup.
Did you see Robert Mueller in my pants?
Maybe yours, but ain't mine. Everyone was very excited, and the feeling I got was that President Trump was going to be cleared of any wrongdoing. However, as we waited in anticipation for Mueller to speak, I started to get a sinking feeling that something more ominous was about to be revealed to us. Something that is going to divide our country even more. My God, I don't want this to become political. The feeling I got was that an impeachment will be attempted and that this will cause an upheaval in our country, something similar to the Civil War of 1861. I also believe the future is what we make it and that it remains in a state of flux. Any outcome is possible out of an infinite variety of outcomes. Thoughts? Well, I'm here's the thing. Those kind of prophecy are extraordinarily hard for any, I mean, I don't know that I don't know. You know what I mean? It's like, can you really believe that someone can really see all future events? And I am glad that the person, notated that with the future can be changed and anything, because I really think that energy is manifesting reality. And so as energy shifts, reality shifts, and et cetera, et cetera. But I don't know. I sure hope to hell not. I hope our country is not going to be torn apart.
Yeah, no doubt.
I mean, we had one civil war, and my God, it really tore. I mean, you had brothers fighting brothers, family fighting family, for ideals and stuff. The thing that I struggle with the most, I guess, is that I don't know if any of us are getting the whole story about anything. It doesn't matter which side you're on. I just don't know that we're all getting the whole story. I just think that there's so many takes on and propagandizing of information that if there's any casualty of our modern age, it's the truth. The truth is the biggest casualty of our world right now, because everybody's spinning something and you just don't know what to believe. Do I believe that we have a lot of corrupt politicians? Yeah, I do. I wish that weren't the case, but I do. Do I believe they will try to, impeach the president? I think they are trying. I think they've always been trying. Mm-hmm. They don't like the guy, and they never will. Are they right in doing so? I don't think so. But I'm I'm not politically leaning either way. It's just like, in my lifetime, we've had good presidents and we've had really bad presidents, but we've always managed to get through them. And I don't know that, I think all of them have done dirt except for maybe Jimmy Carter, but even he did dirt, and I'm not a Carter lover either. I'm just saying he was probably the most sincere of the most recent presidents that we've ever had. I do think some good things are happening in this country, but, I don't want this to become political, and forgive me, but I just want to say this. It's like, I just worry so much about people just, eating and swallowing, whatever information they get from wherever they get it, because I don't know if you can even find the full story anywhere anymore. It's just gotten so convoluted and screwed up with sides being so torn apart and
Check time.
polarized. So just my thoughts, but we got about 6 minutes.
Because I'm looking here, and so I mean, here's the difference.
Okay. So anyway, that's I don't know. I sure hope that's not a prophetic dream. I hope that's just a random jumble of things, but I guess it's possible.
Don't get mad at me. I'm removing certain things out of the chat room. Don't be mad. We're just balancing.
Okay. Yeah, I really don't want it to become a political discussion, so that's not what I'm going into this for. But when we cover a story like that, it's like, I don't know, my heart just aches because I don't want this to be the state of things, I don't want this to be the world that I bring my little one into, I want it to be where we all just figure things out. I don't know. It's probably a foolish idea of mine, but anyway, continuing on. I should have skipped that as soon as it started getting political.
But prophetic dreams, that'd be an interesting, to do a segment on prophetic dreams at some point, And
I think there are. I think there are prophetic dreams, and I don't know. I've not had prophetic dreams, but I've known people who have, and they really swear by them, and I believe in those people. So I guess I do believe it's possible, but I just don't know. I don't know what does that, whether, I don't know. Yeah, I guess anything's possible. I don't know what the hell I'm saying. I'm not sure. Anyway, I'm going to find something more paranormally to talk about. All right. Oh, my God. This can't be right. This one says, woman wins lottery 30 times in one day.
What?
I saw those numbers.
Oh, Jesus. How can you 30? Well,
I don't know.
What would be the point? I mean, if you win it once,
well, maybe
you don't split it with
maybe
anybody.
she won like $10 on scratch offs over and over.
Gotcha.
I don't know. It could just be scratch offs, but let's just take a look. Deborah Brown, a Richmond resident that had what was possibly one of the best and most lucky days of her life. Everyone dreams of winning a lottery, and it's just a matter of luck, right? The dream came true for Deborah Brown on February 11th when she won the Virginia lottery 30 times in one day after Brown managed to buy 30 pick 4 tickets, all with the exact same winning combinations of 1031. Why the hell would she buy 30 of them? Okay, so Brown said that she had seen those particular numbers throughout the day after initially buying 20 tickets with that combination at a gas station in Chesterfield County. As she saw more of those numbers, she bought 10 more tickets at the same location with the same numbers. The top prize for the $4 pick 4 $1 play is $5,000. Drawings are held. Well, see, there you go. It's only $5,000, and I get it though, because the more tickets that you pick, I mean, you get that many more shares of a pot that would be split. So let's say there's 100 winners and you own 30 of the tickets, then you get 30% of that pot. So I guess I understand it that way, but that's still a lot of money to throw into one number combination. So drawings are usually held at 1:59 p.m. and 11 p.m. And given that she bought 30 tickets, that gave her a total winning amount of $150,000.
Right.
Oh, so it wasn't okay. Each ticket, if it wins, gets $5,000.
Right, because we're talking about scratch tickets, not a lottery ticket. Lottery tickets, if more than one person wins, then you split it amongst them.
Right.
But in this, there's only X amount of winning scratch tickets.
What? No, I mean it's a drawing. It's a drawing.
Oh yeah, they said it was announced, didn't they?
Yeah. So it was a drawing of numbers, but given that she bought the same combination, each one of those was worth $5,000.
30 of them. Yeah.
Yeah. Well played, lady. Wow. That's confidence right there.
That's a good way to waste $30.
The lottery agency said that the chances of this are extremely small. The exact odds of matching all four numbers in the correct order are estimated to be 1 in 10,000. For Brown to see these numbers and know that they were the correct ones is miraculous. It has to me more than a coincidence. Whatever she saw, though, it worked. In a statement, Brown said that she has no immediate plans for her winnings, but she is considering renovating her home with the extra cash.
There you go.
Well, good for her. That's really cool. Congratulations.
That's a reasonable thing to do,
Right.
renovating your place you're about,
I'd go on a vacation, though, I think. I'd do a vacation.
Do a vacation, but not like $150,000 vacation. Spend like $5,000.
God,
That's fair.
I don't know what the number is, but I think there's like a high percentage of lottery winners and people that win ridiculous amounts of money.
And they're broke.
And they're
within 30
broke.
days.
Yeah, they get like a few months into it and they're broke. And I think they think that they're like puffy all of a sudden, It's like, ooh, I won $15 million. I'm going to buy a big boat yacht, whatever. And it's like you
Gotta
just
go buy a Bugatti.
right, it's that kind of thinking. And but granted, $1 million today.
Right.
I remember watching Gilligan's Island, of course, the millionaire.
Yeah.
He was this ungodly rich person that could just throw cash everywhere. And, now a millionaire is like your neighbor.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of people. There's millionaires all over the place now. It's just not a big number anymore.
We will be soon.
We will be soon. Speaking of soon, we're about to go to our hour break, ladies and gentlemen. So I just want you to know I love you all, and I hope you stick with us into hour number 2 because it's just going to get more fun. I promise. If not, it's Don's fault. It's Don's fault. Don's fault.
Hi, my name is Ella.
Everybody likes to play their games. Everybody loves to place their bets. They don't understand the price I paid. They don't care to comprehend. Trace their lines upon my body, dripping scars across my heart. Raging anger pours inside me as their lies keep falling apart. steady. Just make sure that you're well fed.
I can't see you, Mommy. Where are you?
I've never sensed anything like it. Carol Ann is not like those she's with. They're attracted to the one thing about her that's different from themselves. Her life force is very strong. It gives off its own illumination. It is a light that implies life and memory of love and home and earthly pleasures. Something they desperately desire, but can't have anymore. Right now, she's the closest thing to that.
Poltergeists are usually associated with an individual. Hauntings seem to be connected with an area. A house, usually.
Poltergeist disturbances are fairly short duration, perhaps a couple of months. Hauntings can go on for years.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Paranormal Portal for hour number 2 here on the show, and I hope you're enjoying the journey. A little more somber tonight. Some of the discussion's been a little dark and a little disturbing, so we'll try to keep it happy and upbeat. I mean, there's a lot of places online if you're into real dark, spooky, scary stuff, macabre stuff. And, I don't know. I've always looked at the portal as, we can cover those things, but we can do it in a way that's a little lighter and easier to handle. Besides, I mean, I don't want to imitate what everyone else is doing anyway, because, chances are I'll just fail by comparison anyway. So I got to do the show in a way that is true to my nature and Don's nature, and this is what we do. So hope you enjoy the journey with us, and thanks again for being here. Again, the call board is open. It's 720-923-0500 if you want to call in and be a part of it. And if you're on YouTube, you can see that up on the screen right under the words Paranormal Portal. But if you're not on YouTube, then you can't see it on the screen, and I'll repeat it again, 720-923-0500. That's your number to call in if you got something to share. Just heard that Jimmy Jean's Into the Microcosm will be following us from now on here on Saturday. So that is epic and awesome, and glad to have you back, brother. Mm-hmm. So let's continue our journey. And Don, you had more on the burial thing.
Yeah,
and I want to let you. I want to let you get to those before I change the subject.
Hold on just a second. TFR, if you're in TFR and you want to call in, you do have to call the number we did shout out. It's 720-923-0500, because we don't use the same line anymore as the regular TFR call-in. This is a TFR line, so you can use it. So absolutely, there you go. I'd drop that into the chat room there. I do have a few buried alive stories. Yeah. Let's see here. This one is this one's kind of sad, but in 2014, CNN reported the story of an Indian child that was kidnapped and buried alive by her 2 neighbors. Okay, that's not the same kind of thing. Let's skip that one. That's not the same kind of thing. No, that's not like we made a mistake. That was just Says business received phone call telling those properties running into.
That's done speed reading, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow, what the hell is this? No. No.
So we got 2 negatives, ladies and gentlemen, and so far,
Okay,
that's 2 strikes. He gets 1 more, ladies and gentlemen, before he has to go back to the batter's box.
Oh, I can't read that one because that one has to do with what we were just talking about, not talking about.
We're not talking about it. So, all right.
Well, I guess I'll find some others and maybe I'll come back later.
There's always room for you, Don. I'm going to read one now. Again, this is coming from Disclose TV. Disclose.tv. It's a really cool site, and they of course have a whole bunch of video assets and things to check out too. But they do a really good job of catching a lot of paranormal headlines. And so I think if you're interested in learning more, definitely go over to www.disclose.tv. But this one is: mysterious man touches the shoulder of another man, saves his life, and then disappears. It is a video. I don't know if I'll just explain it, I guess. So the incident occurred in Adana, Turkey. The man who escaped death says he heard someone says, "Watch out," before he felt someone's hand on his shoulder. And he also said that he could not believe someone actually touched him when it happened. It says he was in shock. But he only believed it was real after he saw the security cam footage. The guy definitely would have got jacked up. Getting whacked with that huge metal grate might have even dragged him for a while, and that's some curious time traveler stuff. The angel man almost walks steadfastly to that man with purpose. So I guess it's not really one that I should have shared, but essentially this guy is standing in a market, and somebody comes up, taps him on the shoulder, and he turns, and as he turns, this grate came flying in and would have smashed him. So it does seem like a divine intervention, which is really, really cool. Guardian angel, perhaps, guardian spirit, whatever you want to call it. But, there's a few of these out there, and they're really hard to explain without thinking, hey, maybe there are people watching out for others, and more of a divine scale. And sometimes they even show up on film. Now, could it have been just a stranger? Yeah, it could have been. But if he said, watch out, he obviously knew something was going to happen. And then, of course, after the man turned, it did happen. Boom. And it happened quick. So it's just a very, very cool story. And, I like those kind of stories. Now, this is another one I wanted to cover. This one I think is really cool. And it's I don't know if it's in every case or not, but we'll read it. But it's psychiatrist claims the cause of mental illness is demonic possession. Very wild. Now, I've often thought about this, ladies and gentlemen, because in a lot of cases, mental illness can be shown on things like MRI scans, and CAT scans can show abnormal brain activity. But here's the thing. Now, is that the natural state for that person? Or just consider this, and I'm not making any claims because I'm not qualified to make any claims, but this is something that's occurred to me. Many of us believe that it is possible for a spirit to possess another person, to take control of them, whether they like it or not. Now, what would the physical ramifications of that be? Obviously, there are stories and stories and stories and accounts of people behaving completely contrary. So what does that look like? Would that not show up then on an MRI as well? Would that not be trackable and traceable with medical equipment that could show a differential in that person's brain, including different kind of synaptic activities? And so, perhaps there is a physical manifestation in these people as well as emotional and behaviorally. So I'm going to read what it says here. It says a psychiatrist practicing out of his nationally recognized New York office has recently come forth with startling new information on the status of mental illness and where it all stands. Richard Gallagher, a certified psychiatrist who also works as an adjunct professor in the Department of Clinical Psychiatry at the New York Medical College, says that mental illness stems from demonic possession. Wow. He must be tenured.
Yeah.
This is a first in the world of psychiatry, not to be confused with the practice of psychology. as most medical practitioners who speak of anything deemed a fringe topic by the mainstream automatically jeopardize both their careers and their practice. Gallagher has personally encountered many patients who he believes are controlled by demonic possessions. Even recently, in the Washington Post reported an interview where the anonymous person claimed that he or she was seduced in the 80s by a satanic priestess. Dr. Gallagher sees many cases like this all of the time. While completing his doctorate studies at Columbia, a Catholic priest asked Gallagher whether or not one of his parishioners was suffering from a mental illness. Gallagher sat down with the individual and now tells of the event at and the patient's abilities to see into people. The patient talked at length about how the people who she never knew died. She could also tell things about a person and bring out their untold secrets. She performed various exorcisms on 6 people, all of whom reported that she began to speak in languages which she had never learned before. And Gallagher, after taking all of this information into account, determined that the woman was indeed possessed. Dr. Gallagher understands the various ways in which his practice can be misconstrued as being something else. He also understands what other psychiatrists in his field think of his work. Superstitions and cases of demonic possession can be pointed out and confirmed as being fraud, but in Dr. Richard Gallagher's career, the only patients who he has considered to be possessed have also been able to accomplish the most inhuman feats. That's pretty cool.
Wow.
I mean, it's something that many of us have always believed is possible, and there are many stories and accounts of these things happening, but to have a professional in such a prestigious field come forward and go, you know what, it could be true. There's something to this. I mean, that's, I think, really cool and validating. And, I really believe these beliefs have lasted so long because there's something to them. People don't speak Latin anymore. And if a person starts, spewing pea soup and talking Latin, it's not just a headache.
That's a little beyond it. I don't need ibuprofen. It's not a migraine. It's not a tumor.
It's not a tumor.
It might be a tumor.
Well, and that certainly has been known to, people with cerebral tumors have been known to have really radical shifts in their personalities and stuff. And that's crazy all by itself, and unfortunate, but I think it's just really cool. What do you think of that, Don?
Somebody else said, I think it was Dana said it in the chat, about, a lot of the times demonic possession is deemed as mental illness when it's actually a possession. So usually it's the other way around, but this one's saying that it's actually demonic possession that's causing the mental illness. That's
right.
Interesting, because it certainly it's got to work both ways. I mean, there's got to be something, but there's got to be something to it. I mean, and as for, brain scans and things like that, doing MRIs on the brain, you can tell somebody has autism because you compare the brain scans of a normal person, quotes, air quotes, normal person, to that of a person with autism. And you can tell that, you can see the synapses firing differently in the different areas that are, fired up. And so, I mean, you can do that, but you have to catch them, that's like it used to be. You couldn't, unless somebody was suffering from low blood sugar, you couldn't diagnose them as diabetic. But now they have that test figured out. So, maybe that's what's happening, is we're moving into that medical era where we can detect these things and tell the difference, so, but it makes perfect sense to me.
Well, we got a caller on the board, so let's see what our caller has to say. And this is Miss Diane Swagger. How you doing?
Hey, it's me, and yes, interesting that this came up, because I just had a gig recently that this may actually kind of go in with. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you great.
Oh, okay, just recently, one of my friends came up to me, and she had said that she had been having some symptoms. Now, I knew her family. Her little girl has some behavioral issues,
Mm-hmm.
and has had for a while. And I babysat her, and let me tell you, she does. It was very odd. As the day wore on, and as it became night, she went from being this sweet little girl to this absolute, well, let's just say a whole different personality emerged.
Mm.
And very different. And I was picking up that something was up with that. Well, her mother finally came to me, and I'm not giving out any names,
Sure.
but I'm giving out kind of vague details here. But her mother finally came to me and said, we've been having trouble since there was a fire. Apparently a meth head had caused a fire in their building, and it had eaten up the first and second and most of the third and a lot of the fourth. And her apartment was the only one that wasn't smoke damaged or anything.
Oh, wow.
And she couldn't get a hold of the landlord to find out if anybody had actually perished in the fire, but she knew it was thick black smoke, and it would have been. She was on the 4th floor, and she knows it was difficult to get out.
Right.
So she doesn't have the particulars, but she does know that she started having activity in her apartment after that.
Oh.
And so, it got worse, and every time she tried to tell somebody about it, she would go home and find that, things would get worse. It was almost like she was being retaliated against. And so it was kind of a sad thing. She didn't feel like she could tell anybody, but finally she got desperate, and she said, well, hearing what you do, it's like I feel like I got to tell you, at least give it a try. And I said, well, good, because we're going to fix this for you. I'm not going to let you down here. I'm not going to let this go because there's a child involved here.
Right.
For one thing, 2 kids, in fact.
Yeah.
2 children.
Aw.
One is older now, but, there are 2 children here involved with this. And she had been having trouble with her significant other, too, her husband. And he had actually heard voices telling him to hurt her.
Oh, geez.
Wow.
That's dark.
So, so they had to be separated and stuff. So you're talking about, mental illness, yeah. Well, so, of course, and this was the really strangest thing of it. She was showing me pictures she takes. Now, she has a strange ability. Now, this is interesting. She never even heard the term medium before. She had no idea what that meant, but she is one, okay?
Oh, okay.
And I had to explain that to her.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, oh, is that what that is? You know what I mean? So she can actually take a picture of apparitions sometimes.
Oh, very cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it is very cool. And I said, I really think I'm glad that you're telling me about all this and that this is causing us to talk about this because you have a talent, and so does her daughter.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, she goes, okay, well, I'm going to show you the picture that I took. And it was a picture in a darkened room, and this is how she sees. She has to have it kind of dark. Some people need it to be, I know somebody is just the opposite. She needs the room to be lit up, and then she can see other people. They need it to be darkened, and then they can see.
Mm-hmm.
So took a picture of it with her cell phone.
Oh, wow.
She felt something, this dark thing, this another one of these shadowy type things in her kitchen. She took a picture of it with her cell phone, and she said, I know this is hard to see. You kind of got to turn it just the right way and look into it, but, I'm pretty sure you'll be able to see it. And I've seen her stuff before. You kind of got to let your eyes adjust to be able to see it because it's pretty dark.
Sure.
Okay, so I'm looking at this, And I'm looking in gradually. Yeah, my eyes start to pick out this shape among the other, this shadowy shape among the other shapes that turns gray. And you can see a kind of a foggy gray, and then it kind of came into focus. And this is the part that really got me.
What's that?
It looks at me, it comes up close to the frame, looks at me, cocks its head to one side, and exits stage left.
Oh,
now,
dear.
this is not a movie. I said, is this a movie? She goes, no, this is a still picture.
Well, that's creepy.
I'm like, wait a minute. My mouth is hanging up, and I'm like, holy, I have never seen this before. I've never seen it. She goes, what? I told her. She goes, let me see. And she looks in it. She goes, oh, my God, it's moving around in the picture.
Were you at Hogwarts?
Oh, my God, right?
It's like
new for me. Like, I have seen a lot of stuff. This is a new one.
Yeah, that's
so
bizarre.
I sent the cavalry remote,
Sure.
like I do sometimes. I mean, I have a picture so I can know where to send it. So we sent the cavalry. And after we did that, and I said, okay, and I told it, I looked right at it. I said, if you can hear me, I'm warning you, you're either going easy or you're going hard, but you're going, so you might as well not even think about hurting them, okay?
Right.
There was that and several other spirits in her place.
Wow.
So we went in, we cleaned it out. Yeah, well, what these things do is they use it for a battery. They use these, they will use the spirits for the ghosts, kind of like a battery for their own purposes sometimes.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Kind of hard to explain.
Nope, I've heard that.
Hard to explain. Yeah, they do. They will. They'll try and keep them there to suck up the energy, their energy.
Mm-hmm.
So, after that, she went home and she says, gee, I don't know what's going to happen now that, it's got to know that you were looking at it. And I said, yeah, I think it does know. I'm looking at it and I think it knows. I said, don't worry. If it hurts you, it's got a big price to pay.
Mm-hmm.
So she went home, and absolutely nothing happened to her.
Yay, good deal.
Yeah.
Her daughter shows up from school. She picks her daughter up from school. Her daughter is amazingly calmer.
Good.
And as night wears on, she doesn't change. She's the same kid.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of her issues are gone.
Wow.
Oh, good. That's amazing.
She is getting along better with her husband.
Yay. That's a success. Those are great.
Yes. So can it be a mental... Heck, yeah. If this guy had gone in and told a doctor, I'm hearing voices telling me to hurt my wife, he would have been classified as schizophrenic for sure.
Yeah. he might have got an extended stay out of that deal.
Yeah, and her daughter had already been diagnosed with behavioral problems.
Yeah.
So absolutely, 100% this can be. And I think in many cases, this is exactly what's going on. But we need to get, as a matter of fact, gosh, I live near the soup kitchen. I see a lot of it down there.
Oh, sure.
We have a lot of schizophrenics around here. We have one that's really notorious for you'll get the stuff out of him and he'll go and find something else.
Oh, sure.
He doesn't like the lack of it. He feels like he has power when when this is happening. It's some weird thing with him that he just can't let go of that. So
sure.
We have a lot of that around here, and absolutely, it's like if you have somebody with mental illness, it's definitely worth checking into to see if it can be helped in this way. It might at least be lessened, even if we can't get rid of. I'm not diagnosing or proposing a cure, But if we can take some of the pressure off that person's psyche
Yeah.
because they're no longer being bothered by non-corporeal entities,
Right.
then
Absolutely.
maybe they can get well or at least feel better or at least have a less severe issue.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
there's my public service announcement.
There you
of the
go.
day.
Well, thank you so much for calling in, Dee. It's great to hear from you. We're about to head to break here, but it's always a pleasure, and I hope you'll continue to call in.
Thank you very much. Well, no, I'm going to stop right now.
Love you,
No,
Dee.
I'm not going to call in all the time. I'll see you guys. I love you all.
All right, love you too.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Good night. All right, very cool.
Yeah,
Very
no
cool.
doubt.
And ladies and gentlemen, if you're not familiar with it, Diane Swiger is one of the local psychics as well that has been helping those people that have reached out to the portal for assistance.
Mm-hmm.
She and Deb and Sean and Joel and the list continues to grow. But we've got a lot of feedback from people that have been helped, and they're very grateful and very thrilled. And I'm really thrilled that we can offer that. To be suffering from some kind of paranormal activity, you feel really alone. So I'm glad that we have resources that we can help. But we're going to go to our last break of the night already. God, it's going fast.
Oh, it's flying.
Oy. But
Welcome to the portal.
Welcome to the portal. It's on fast forward. But if you hit the slow button on YouTube, we sound really drunk. Just ask Sarah.
Thank you, Sarah.
We sound like we're absolutely loaded. So anyway, we'll be right back after this break, ladies and gentlemen. Don't go away for more of the Paranormal Mayhem.
protection from deception.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Paranormal Portal. And I'm your host, not Chris Everhard. But welcome back. If you were watching closely on YouTube, you would have saw Don and I doing a dance-off. And I just got to say...
He wins. He wins.
I thought we were both pretty epic. That's all I'm saying.
I think you're more epic.
Well, thank you.
You are the epicenter of epic.
Well, yeah. I don't even know what to say of that. But welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Last half hour of our show tonight. It has just flown by. It's always an amazing journey, and I hope you're enjoying it. We just like to do lots of different topics, and of course, tonight we drew just kind of we kind of done some creepy ones, I guess, tonight with the burials and the demonic possession and stuff. But
wow, yeah.
Now there's a discussion going on in the chat room about shadow people.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
You know, and I wanted to chime in on that, if I may.
Well, you may.
May I, sir?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I kind of feel that, in my humble opinion.
Duke says exploding coffins.
Oh Jesus! Yeah. Well, that's the best of them. My humble opinion, shadow people are neither good nor bad, in my opinion. But what they do is dimension, using you like a battery. Well, I think not so much your spirit, but your negative emotion, your negative projections. I think they eat on that. I think that's what they use as a battery, and therefore that's what gives them the power to attack. However, if you purge those negative emotions, negative feelings on a regular basis, just kind of get them, whether it's go into a room and just shout into your pillow, or pin down your significant other and pin them in the chest and say, "You're gonna listen." It doesn't matter. Just purge it, and then that takes away the power of the shadow, making it benign, because it has no power now, because you've purged it. So that's my whatever.
No, that's as valid as any others. And ladies and gentlemen, there are allegedly a race of things called shadow people, and they're kind of their own paranormal entities. There are also, I've heard many hundreds of accounts of people that have had hauntings in their home, and they've both seen apparitions turn into shadows. And so I think that spirits can choose to be shadowy if they're trying to be less noticed. I don't know why, because apparently they can just go full invisible. So why bother being a shadow? I don't know. But apparently they can. Somebody was talking about exploding coffins, and they talked about air fresheners and stuff.
Dana.
Dana? Was that Dana? Okay.
Full of air fresheners and all that. Oh, that'd be horrible. This is like this fresh pine scent bursts from the ground.
It smells good. we become fans of exploding coffins because they really freshen the air. Bury him in a suit of those little pine trees.
Got them all hanging all over.
Yeah, exactly.
Got them hanging over the ears.
Yeah, you never know. I mean, whatever works, but God, don't smoke around there. That's all I'm saying. Imagine there's some methane at work.
Just imagine one little spark.
Yeah.
And you'll be joining them.
Could be, yeah. I think that'd probably be pretty powerful.
Dana says Duke started it.
Duke starts a lot of things. That's all I'm saying.
And he's welcome to it.
He's welcome to start a lot of things, but the
Whispering
man,
Pines.
huh?
Whispering Pines. If I'm connecting that, Whispering. Well, okay, now that might have been a different thing, but there was a TV show with Matt Damon in it.
Oh, okay.
Or not Matt Damon. Matt Dillon.
Okay.
It wasn't a TV show. It was like a Netflix series. But anyhow, I may be getting that wrong.
All
But
right.
anyhow, the instigator. Yes, Duke, you're the instigator.
Oh, well.
So,
Oh, my
do you
God.
think so?
I can't even read this
Oh
story.
no, you can't, because I've read. If that's the one I thought, you can't read that. You cannot read that.
Oh, no, that's so wrong.
Oh no.
What a pickup line, though.
Oh no. That's not a. Oh my God. And I didn't do it. He's gone. It's not my fault this time.
I'm going to try to paraphrase this because it's so
And Orange County Girl, we don't talk about Black Eyed Kids only on Black Eyed Kid nights.
Donna's freaked out by Black Eyed Kids. So the story, and I can only paraphrase it as well as I can, but
You're gonna have to
I'm going to try my best to
paraphrase
tiptoe
it.
around this, but the man claims he's an exorcist, and he'll go up to women and tell them that their certain body part is haunted. And he uses his phallus to get rid of it. What an idiot. Oh, my God.
Worship thy holy
Oh,
hot
no.
dog.
That is terrible.
He's holy rolling.
Now I gotta wonder if that guy if it ever works out, because my God, that is terrible. The man, I can't.
I do this.
Wow. Okay. There was one thing in here I did want to touch on, but I've somehow gone right past it. Here it is. This is one I thought was kind of interesting. Now, ladies and gentlemen, this is kind of a pet peeve of mine, and I think it's kind of a new agey, trendy kind of thing, and it just drives me nuts. But it's the whole idea of indigo children, crystal children, star children. It's like, what's with the labels? Stop it. There are just gifted children. But I guess it's a trendy thing. Like, oh, my child's an indigo.
I think there's just way too many claims to that.
Well, I mean, God, I hope it's true, because if that's right, if there really are that many, then hey, things are looking up, because there's a lot of these light worker kids around, and maybe they can help clean up some of this crap. But
that'd be nice.
But I want to read this, and it says, "Is your child an indigo child?"
Mine would be an ebony child.
Okay. I got to leave that all the way alone. But it's hard for me, Don. You make it hard sometimes. I'm just sitting here just like having to choke back down the words before they come out. All right, so let's get going here. It's been reported that over the last few years, autism is on the increase, and science has failed to understand why this increase is happening, but experts are saying that it could just be down to natural selection, that these are indigo children. It appears that these group of children has learning styles different to others. They're special and unusual abilities, and sometimes they can read into as being supernatural. Some are now saying that these children are simply ahead of the majority, and that the way that we are heading as a race is toward this way of thinking due to evolution. Traits include the ability to sense others' feelings more and see things in a different way, and they also tend to go against authority more, which can cause trouble in life, generally speaking. And the thing is that there's no evidence to support any of this. It's just a theory, yet not proven. It is one idea to explain autism in a different way. Critics claim that it's an idea that some parents cling on to, as they cannot accept that their child has autism. If you're a parent, the idea of your child being gifted is much more appealing than the idea of them having a disorder, said psychologist David Cohen. So many in the professional field do not believe in indigo children and still stick to diagnosing children with autism. Well, yeah, I mean, of course, because that's their job. It's not their job to say somebody's gifted. They're just going to tell you what's wrong. It is the job of the people who believe in indigo children to find some sort of conclusive evidence that this is the case. Thinking about it, it seems very hard that someone will be able to do that, so it looks like the term autism is here to stay. Well, I don't think that autism is necessarily a disparaging term. It's just, I mean, it's this whole idea that, we of feelings, and I understand. I've got family members that are autistic, and it's not, in most cases, there's severe cases of autism that are real heartbreaking because you're just never sure if you're actually reaching, or if you have the ability to reach those people. But in many cases, a lot of these people with autism are very high functioning. They're doing absolutely brilliant things, and especially in the cases of some of the Asperger's. I did say Asperger's just for clarification because it sounded wrong in my head and my earphones when it came back to me. But it's certainly not a disparaging term, I don't think. So I don't know. What do you think of that, Don?
I think a whole lot about that.
I'm sure you do.
So here's my thing on that. I also have people with autism in my family, and there's the higher functioning and the lower functioning. The lower functioning is nonverbal. They may be wheelchair bound, that kind of thing. I've often wondered to myself if these people, if we were ever able to be cracked into their brain and find out what's going on in there, then would we find that they're closer to God? And that's why, or a creator being, let me say that, a creator being, and they're overwhelmed with it. They can't verbalize it. They can't form coherent human thought. They're connected to this higher being. Now, maybe that's another part of the matrix.
Could be.
So that might be true. Now, the higher functioning, because I have a lot of higher functionings in and around me all the time, and they say they go against authority. That's not quite correct, because what actually happens is they don't understand the idea of this kind of conformity. They can't. They're too rigid of thinkers. They're like, well, but that just doesn't make sense. But the problem is that I've bumped into is just because it doesn't make sense to them, doesn't mean that that can be ignored by them. They have to learn the societal norms. However, you still have to be able to encourage that child or that person to grow past it. I've got so much in my head going on because I always get, this is a near and dear thing to me. I do believe that kids with autism, adults with autism, higher functioning, lower functioning, I do believe they're connected somehow, and there is some kind of what is the term that they always use?
Telepathy or
no.
I don't know where you're going with this.
Well, the connection. There's the higher being. They have that higher consciousness.
Okay.
Their consciousness is opening up, and if that's the fact, then there's a lot that can happen, because there are a lot of people with autism that have done some truly wonderful things in this world. So maybe it's the opening of the consciousness creates issues that was what we term as issues like ADD and ADHD, and in a lot of cases ODD,
right?
And a little bit of OCD. But I think this explains a whole lot as to why these people with these challenges really challenge everything, and I think that's kind of that helps us push into that next place of being. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And I think there's something to that. And I don't pretend to know. But I appreciate what you have to say. I think that you of course are very familiar with it, much more even than I am. And I think that I don't think it's a disability. That's the thing. I don't think it's a difference. It's a different.
It's not a disability. It's a disability in our efforts because we don't know how to deal with it.
Right. We don't know quite how to connect in that same way. But I think it's also good because it's causing us to have to figure it out.
Right.
They have to change paradigms and to look at this in a different way in order to bridge that gap.
Right.
But it is very encouraging to think that maybe that's the next step in our development. I the only thing that ever I wonder about is that in many cases they're so emotionally not different, but they process emotions so differently that it seems almost at times with some autism that they don't have emotion, which isn't the case. You know what I mean? They don't have the same physical reaction or characteristic reactions to emotion.
Right.
And so to us it seems very foreign and
But
does that make sense?
With that in mind, though, wouldn't it be a good thing if we were divorced a little bit more from our feelings? Because isn't that part of what's going on in the world? Is people are too feeling?
Well, I think. See, I don't know, because that's like saying, is it better to be a Vulcan or not? I mean, and Vulcans.
Vulcan or Romulan,
right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. It's like which side of that spectrum do you want to be on? I don't know. I think that being in touch with your emotions is very powerful.
Right.
But
see, they don't understand how to process their feelings because there's this kind of somatic aphasia. This aphasia that goes on with them. They lose you have to guide them into understanding what it means, not necessarily trying to teach them what it is, because you can't do that. You have to teach them how to react to it and how to react properly, just like with authority.
Right.
They have to. They don't see it they see it as a societal norm that they don't understand, but they still have to find a way to work with it.
Right. We do have another caller here too, and we got about 10 minutes left, but we can squeeze in a few minute call here. Area code 619. You're on the air.
Hi.
Hi.
Brent.
How are you?
Hi.
I missed you.
Good. Yeah, I missed you too. I wish I had seen this a little bit earlier, because there's a couple of things I wanted to say about this. And, one of them is I think that there are, a number of variables regarding especially high-functioning autism that maybe we need to take a look at regarding, communication is a big factor in autism, isn't it? Right?
Sure.
One of the things is that I had taken care of a little boy who was diagnosed with high-functioning autism back in the early 90s. And he was only 3, and he was about 4.5 when he was diagnosed. But I had been taking care of him for about a year before he was diagnosed with this high-functioning autism. And he was a very creative, highly intelligent little boy. But, that in the 90s, that was computers were coming onto the scene already, right? And his parents were wealthy, so he had a computer, and his parents did not want him watching a lot of television, just randomly. So he was not watching regular television. He watched videos, but he was playing with toys. And I noticed, though, that so his communication style, what I'm saying is that most of the children, though, his age, communication styles already were changing, so that he was already getting used to using the keypad, to communicate. Whereas when I was a kid, and I'm in my early 60s now, so in the 50s and in the early 60s, we communicated more verbally with each other as kids. When he was a kid, it wasn't like that, right?
Right.
So I think we need to take that into factorization when we talk about things like autism, because that's the way they diagnose it. The other thing that I want to talk about is, we've come to take, when we talk about things like diagnosing and diagnoses, we sort of assume that this thing is a science that we call psychology. It isn't.
Sure.
It's a pseudoscience. And when we look back on how did we get to assimilate and start to assume that this thing called the psychology is a science when it isn't? It's a pseudoscience. You know, I've started to watch this Netflix series called Mad Men, you know, which is about Madison Avenue, you know, and advertising. And actually, you know, how did we, meaning we Americans, how did we start to assimilate psychology into our culture? And the story of that, you know, has to do with advertising. I'm part of that. I remember when my parents started to see therapists, you know, back in the 60s. When did people start to go see therapists? When did it become desirable to see a therapist? When did you have to have money? You needed to have money to go see a therapist. You had to have a little bit of money. It was these guys who worked on Madison Avenue whose wives could afford to go see therapists.
Sure.
Now, probably most of you who are listening, you don't even fall into that category. You know, we've started to assimilate that into our culture. We've started to just take it for granted that that this is a science. It's not.
Right.
It's not a science. And actually there are many different kinds of psychology. We've started to assume that this thing called behavioral psychology is the only kind of psychology. It's not. There's the Jungian psychology. There's something called, oh God, I'm going to forget now because I'm on the spot and I'm getting older. Having a senior moment because I'm actually a real senior now. But anyway, there are many different kinds of psychology. There's not just this psychology that we use this thing called the DSM-V, which is the Diagnostic Manual, which that's where autism is in and gives us the diagnostic criteria. And so I want the listeners to think about that. You know, it was advertising that was used to get us to assimilate this thing called psychology into our culture so that we now just think of it as a science when it isn't. It's a pseudoscience.
Sure. And I don't disagree with that at all. I think you're absolutely right. And, you know, of all of our sciences, it's definitely the youngest. You know, there was no pun intended there.
Yeah, right. And autism, you know, as a quote, you know, a disorder or it's not even a real disease, is one that deals mostly with communication. You know, that's the spectrum. They call it a spectrum disorder.
Sure.
And it has to do with the way that a person communicates, you know, a little strangely. I guess we use the word strangely. It's the way, you know, they do it, they communicate differently than other people. And it's the form of the way that they communicate differently. Yet, you know, if we think about it, we're all communicating differently with each other.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
And the settings in which we do that, you know, are different for all of us. And these children were born into a very different setting. And so, you know, I'm just kind of throwing that out there.
You know, that's really interesting, and that's a great
there's
point.
There's lots of different variables going on here.
If you think about the way that we communicate versus the way we used to communicate, I mean, and you look at how our social skills and structure is changing so that a lot of our relationships now are online, and we're seeing this uptick of just absolute rudeness and idiocy because there's no social ramifications for it. You know, it's just this anonymous communication phenomena or whatever, where people just think, I'm going to go on there and say whatever the hell I want and screw everybody. And there's no what I like to call the ass kicking clause. Like, you wouldn't go to a house party and call somebody an effing loser and tell them how stupid they were. Otherwise, you're gonna have to get punched. I mean, that's the way it's gonna go. But on the internet, there is no quote unquote ass kicking clause. You know,
Right.
So people are just empowered by that, and you just see this social dysfunction. And I suppose it's our learning curve probably culturally, but it is a phenomenon of its own. So, you know, it doesn't surprise me that, you know, even our communication has changed drastically in the last 20 years.
And yeah,
But,
you know,
unfortunately,
I'm remembering, you know,
we are down to about a minute left, Regla. So, whatever you want to say in closing.
That's it. I'll close.
Well, I love you bunches, and I'm so glad to hear from you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I will look forward to hearing from you more, hopefully.
Absolutely.
All right. Great show, you guys.
All right.
Thanks.
Take
Good
care.
night.
Good night.
Have a good night.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that about wraps us up for tonight. Hey, anything in closing, Mr. Longbeard?
You know, I think, you know, there's something that she mentioned that it falls under a spectrum disorder. And actually, if I remember correctly, Asperger's is not considered autism. It's considered part of the spectrum. However, if I remember right, they're talking about taking it out of the diagnostic manual as an autism, something in that spectrum.
Okay.
But she, you know, just a lot of stuff. But anyhow, to get back to the end of the show, thank you all. We love you. Hit that like, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
All right, guys. Love you bunches. Be good, be kind, be nice. Take care of each other, and help each other out whenever you can. Find the magic in every day and laugh as much as you can. Stick around for Into the Microcosm with Jimmy Jean, and Brandy Lou will be coming up next here on TFR iHeart. Tune in and talk stream live to the YouTube family. We love you, and I'll be back tomorrow night for some bedtime stories. So hope you're ready for bed.
Good night, all.
All right, good night, guys.